All right. Yeah. So this was a young girl, 5 years old. She had a kind of slightly soft scalp mass present since birth, and clinically they thought it was a vascular lesion. I think they'd even, if I recall correctly, done ultrasound. It looked cystic and probably vascular. So I think just kind of because it was, it was noticeable, I think they decided to remove it, mainly for, cosmetic purposes or just so there wouldn't be a lump there anymore. And then we got the pathology results. The
Okay.
slides here.
So here is that excision. And there were actually two, I think, right? Or no,
There,
one.
I think this is just one. I
Just
think there
one.
must have been a little cut in the top of it, like it opened up at some point during the operation. Maybe that I don't think is a real ulcer. I think it was like kind of a defect, but it was a complete excision done by a pediatric surgeon, I believe, or plastics, one of those. And they, so they took it all the way down to the fat and kind of took it off the galea off the
Yeah. So
top.
what I'm seeing, I see a lot of hemorrhage in the center, and I see those kind of like a spaces
Yeah.
in the periphery. And so let's show it to the audience. So here's the higher magnification on those spaces that are lined by by cells, and there's a blood inside. So I just want to show you kind of a sample of what might be. So that's the lesion. That's
Then at the periphery, you can see it kind of trickles out. It's not like very well circumscribed at either towards the bottom or the sides. It kind of, trickles in between normal structures,
and that
dissects
induces
out
some
collagen a little.
vascular proliferation too, or maybe that's kind of something that looks like blood vessel. And here's the blood vessel that you mentioned, that it was apparently in the surgical report, there was a connection to a blood vessel.
That's right.
At least that was how it was reported. So let's ask the audience, what, do you have a diagnosis, even just based on what we've shown, which would not reflect probably the real life situation, but what are the considerations? So if you have those considerations, if you could write it in on the Mentimeter. And in the meantime, I'll show a little bit more of that H&E. So we have a young child with those spaces filled with blood. Okay. So let's go back to the Mentimeter.
Those are all great ideas.
Yes, so that's, vascular malformation, the more responses are from the same
Oh, right.
the
They
same
get
response,
larger
they
if
get larger.
more
Yes.
people vote for it.
Yes. So, okay. Um, I think that may be enough for this. And now the question for you is, which of the following stains would you like to order? Are there any other considerations that you might have? And this should be a quickie. I'll give you 20 seconds to respond. Okay. So, vascular markers, a few votes for AMA, CD34, keratins, and some other options were selected. So let's take a look at some of those. D240, stain. So Jared, narrate and walk me through this one.
Yeah. So do you want me to talk about like what I was thinking and how I was approaching this?
No,
And then
let's
I don't
just
want
analyze
to.
the slide and then
Yeah, so I mean, here's
Just
D240 and
report and then we'll have a discussion because we are going to
beautifully
ask the
positive,
audience.
right?
It's
Around most of
positive.
these.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
very nice staining.
Very
As
crisp,
control,
positive.
you can look up and see there's lymphatics in the dermis. It also stains some of the outer root sheath cells. So it's always nice to know what internal controls will light up,
So all the spaces
And
are positive for
yeah,
D240.
pretty much.
Okay. Another ERG that was popular. And here it is. And that ERG looks negative. Ouch.
Yeah, dead negative.
That negative. And the next,
And I also did 34 and 31, and 34 was cleanly negative, and 31 there was like a little bit of wishy-washy staining here and there, probably histiocytes, but mostly negative.
yeah.
So
And you thought of something, and you are like a few members of the audience, you did EMA that you chose to share. And let's show what this one showed.
and look, just as a little bonus, look at how tiny those sebaceous glands are because she's a kid, right? The sebaceous glands are so little in children and very immature until puberty, right? When they get androgen,
Mm-hmm.
response and they get larger. So that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of cute, and it's a nice internal control. And yeah, look at that EMA. It's not diffusely positive, but certainly there are areas that are strongly positive, especially towards the deep aspect of the lesion. And over towards, I think, the left side of the slide a little at the bottom, there's an
Mm-hmm.
area kind of by that sclerotic zone. There's a little area where you can see kind of some slightly round kind of world structures that are EMA positive.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, so it is positive. So now, what is your diagnosis? That's a question for the audience. And 5-year-old scalp lesion.
Yeah, I love this case too. Whoever gave that heart, this is like a really, really awesome case. I'm easily excited about cases, and one of my former fellows, who's now my partner, Michelle Pitch, she always she accuses me of saying every case that I'm like, this is the best ever, and it's true. I say this is the best ever all the time. So we have a joke. She'll be like, "Is it TBE? Is it the best ever?" And I'm like, "Let me show you." And she's like, "Okay, that is the best
Oh,
ever."
you're an
So I like
extrovert.
that she kind of pokes fun at
Yeah.
me, but she's totally right. I'm easily excited, but this case is the best ever.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what Dr. Mim he was like because I was very lucky to work with him for 10 years. So,
Oh, that's so
and he was
cool.
always 100% on. There
That's
was just
awesome.
nothing in between.
I'm so glad I got the chance to meet him at a meeting at USCAP one year. I got to meet him and went up and shook his hand, said hi, and I'm so happy that I had that experience. But
Yeah,
I've heard just so many great things about him.
yeah. So there are, there's like a competition between, hemangioma and meningioma, lymphangioma, and you did a few additional stains that included those, and so now would be a good time to say what was your thought process
Yeah, so
and how did
I'm
you
with
arrive
all
at
of you
the
who
diagnosis? And your diagnosis was
Yeah,
meningothelial
this is a
hamartoma.
meningothelial hamartoma, which some people also use the term ectopic meningioma or cutaneous meningioma. Although it's really probably in this context in kids when it's congenital, it's not neoplastic actually. It's probably kind of a
Hmm.
malformed hamartomatous process, maybe a bit that got left behind embryologically, which I think fits with that idea that they had that kind of cord. They thought it was a vessel surgically, but I think it was kind of a tether of a little bit of tissue that connected probably originally to the dura, and since there was no defect in the skull, I wouldn't call this like a meningomyelocele or a meningocele, anything like that. But it's kind of you could think of it as being within that same spectrum, I guess.
Hmm.
So yeah, so what and some people have called these, I think, in when they call them cutaneous meningiomas, people have divided them into three subtypes. Type 1, which I believe is like this form, which is really a hamartoma, and then there are actual meningiomas like neoplastic, that can arise outside of the skull or that can grow through the skull. Pretty rare, but I have seen that happen before. So in this case, it looks like a vascular lesion, right? So the problem, in fact, one of my partners got the case first and they brought it to me and they said, I think it's a hemangioma, but I'm not exactly sure is there a special name for it. And so that was my problem. And that was the first clue that this was something weird was it looks vascular, but it doesn't fit neatly into a box. For a 5-year-old kid, there's not a I was thinking, what are the options we have? Well, there's infantile hemangioma, right? The kind that babies get, the strawberry hemangiomas that kind of regress over time. Those look very different from this, right? They have little tiny vessels packed really closely together. They're very cellular. The old name for those was cellular cellular hemangioma of infancy. So this is definitely not that. It doesn't, and if you did GLUT, guess what? GLUT1 would be positive here probably. And I would normally have done it, but we happen to have been out of GLUT and we're waiting. It's on back order. We're waiting for a new stain when this was happening. So that's why I didn't have a GLUT for you here. But normally GLUT1 would be a nice stain for this too. So that could confuse you. If you did GLUT, you would say, oh, it's infantile hemangioma. But in fact, meningothelial cells are GLUT1 positive too, just like perineurial cells are. So I looked at it and I thought, well, it's not infantile hemangioma. Then could it be rich or niche, like congenital hemangiomas, the rapid involuted kind and the non-involuting? The rapid involuting kind would be gone by 5 years old mostly, and so that wouldn't fit. And then the non-involuting kind, the ones I've seen, they're much more well-formed channels. This is actually pretty infiltrative if you think about it. Look what it's doing. It's individual cells that look kind of like endothelial cells wrapping around individual discrete dermal collagen bundles, wrapping around normal vessels, almost like the promontory sign of Kaposi sarcoma. In fact, I actually even did an HHV8 stain here just to be totally safe because there are like lymphangioma-like and cystic kind of variants of Kaposi. I've never encountered one in practice, but I've seen them in study sets. So it would be really, really rare for a 5-year-old to have Kaposi sarcoma. But I thought, let's just be totally sure. So the best thought I had was that maybe this is either a weird vascular malformation or a lymphatic malformation, like a so-called lymphangioma, because sometimes malformations can get pretty infiltrative and kind of mimic that growth pattern of Kaposi or angiosarcoma. Clearly in the scalp of a 5-year-old, there's just no way this could be an angiosarcoma. It's exquisitely rare for angiosarcoma to be in kids. I've never seen a case in a child. And if they were, I mean, there's no atypia here. It's very bland. So as I looked around, I also thought about, there is this thing called meningothelial hamartoma, and they look kind of lymphangioma-like or vascular. They have cystic spaces. They don't really look at all like the actual tumor meningioma. And as I looked around and thought about that, I encountered a few psammoma bodies, which Dr. Zemowicz just showed down there. There are a few psammomatous calcifications at the base of the lesion right there. And there's also a few areas where the cells are a little more round and they're kind of vaguely whirling and swirling within this dense collagen stroma, kind of like the whirling and swirling you would see in a meningioma or a perineurioma. So my initial round of stains, I think I did D240, CD34, CD31. And I usually like to do ERG, but for some reason I forgot to order ERG. So D240 came back beautifully positive. And I forgot about the fact that guess what? Meningothelial cells and meningiomas are usually D240 positive. So that's another trick. So once I did the ERG was completely negative, and so was CD34, and 31 was mostly negative. So ERG, in my hands, in my experience, is 100% sensitive for vascular and lymphatic tumors and proliferations. Now, no stain's perfect. I'm sure if I do this long enough, eventually I'll be proven wrong. But basically, if it's ERG negative, the chance of it being a vascular or lymphatic proliferation is close to zero. I'll say that. In my experience, I've never yet seen a vascular lesion or lymphatic lesion that's negative for ERG. It's not a specific marker, but it's very sensitive. So the fact that this was totally negative for ERG basically takes lymphangioma, lymphatic malformation, vascular malformation, all of that out. And then I had the thought of like, well, what other stains could I do if I really want to prove these are meningothelial cells? And I had to do a little bit more searching to find out, what other things stain meningothelial cells but wouldn't stain vascular. And that's when I had discovered another thing that was positive is E-cadherin. I found a paper that it was talking about meningiomas are often positive both for D240 and for E-cadherin. And I don't have the slide. I didn't upload it. These are pretty big files and I didn't want to upload a million of them. So I did that, and I did a couple other markers. PR, progesterone receptor, which is positive in meningiomas, but I wasn't sure how much staining it would have in like normal meningothelial cells. It was kind of patchy focal positive for PR. a decent bit of SSTR2, which is somatostatin receptor 2. That's a positive marker in meningothelial cells and meningioma. And then E-cadherin was nicely positive. So all of those things together supported that this was meningothelial origin. I didn't find any glial tissue. In fact, I think I even did a GFAP on one block to make
Wow.
sure there was no glial stuff
So
in there because
there's
I thought,
no chance whatsoever. This is probably
yeah,
the most worked up
yeah.
ectopic meningothelial
And
hamartoma
admittedly,
on
I
this
did a few of
planet.
these things for teaching because it's just such a nice example, you know.
No,
But
it's
I thought it was very lovely.
yes.
And when I was looking back in the literature back in the 1990s, when this was originally described, it was noted that these tumors can have a growth pattern that mimics angiosarcoma. And of course, in a
Yeah.
5-year-old, you wouldn't really be worried about that. But some of the cases originally described were congenital lesions, but that were present until adulthood. And so they were removed in adults. And then you could that kind of growth pattern, if this was an old sun damaged person, I'd be worried about angiosarcoma, even though there's no atypia. It would concern me, you know, to see it grow like that. So,
Yeah.
such a cool, amazing
Yeah.
case. And someone said, why not an atretic meningocele? I think arguably you could make the argument that maybe these exist on a spectrum with that. I mean,
This is a clinical pathological entity. For me, the nuclei. I mean, you just want to see this nuclei. These are meningothelial, very fine kind of salt and pepper type of nuclei.
yeah.
They're very characteristic for this entity. And actually, pediatric dermatologists are very familiar with this entity clinically because they present as a bald patch, and then the differential of a bald patch in a child is very narrow, and here the hairs, they stick out like an around this kind of almost like horizontally. There's like a corona, so there's very characteristic clinical appearance
Yeah.
of these
Unfortunately, there
lesions.
was no clinical photograph for this. I
Yes,
really
yes.
wish there would have been. That would have been cool.
Yeah,
Um,
wonderful. I think
really nice.
that's a
And it's such a big one. I've only seen this one other time in my career. It was, I think, on the nose of like a
mhm,
10-year-old, and it was really tiny. I think it was on the nose, which
yeah,
was kind of weird, I thought. But it was a really small lesion, the only other
mhm,
one I've seen. So this is a really nice, beautiful
yeah,
example.
wonderful. That's really great. Let's see if there are any questions.
Thank you, whoever
Yeah.
said I had Madhu Dewan. You come up with nice cases. I try my best. The cases just find me, is what it seems like.
Yeah, it's really great. You have a different style and different. I'm intrigued by controversies and by things that are kind of not clear cut, and that's a lot of content that I share, which is good for experienced people and kind of different perspectives. And but you have this knack of describing this, the lesions and all this differential
Yeah.
diagnosis and
My favorite
literature.
thing is
It's
like the rare, really perfect example. I love
yes, that's
those. And the controversy I find is like it is interesting, but it's also challenging
to
and I
present.
don't always
Yes.
know exactly the right answer. And I kind of
Yes.
shy away sometimes from making videos about that stuff because it's a lot harder and more difficult to make a video
Yes.
about.
Yes.
It requires much more preparation. So kudos to you, Artur, for
Okay.
doing.
Well, it's more of our personality and kind of what drives us. I mean, but that's really fantastic piece of education. Actually,
Yeah, I
wonderful.
learned a lot from that case because I had to like
Yeah,
delve into like thinking about stain. I don't think about meningothelial stains very often, and it
yeah.
was really fun to do a little searching on that.